GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
For online one-to-one music lessons with top musicians, visit bmusician.com.
Vijay was telling me, even when he goes to Chennai, and people randomly ask him, "How is your dog?"
How's
They
Tom?
don't even ask him about me. They're like, "How is Tom?" Like,
Hi Anand, pleasure to meet you finally face to face. I think the last time we spoke was on Zoom or something like that.
yes.
Yeah.
We spoke for my previous film, Middle Class Melodies,
Right.
for Zoom. Yeah,
And that was quite a while ago, right?
it was 2020.
And you've not had anything after that.
I had one theatrical. It was
Pushpaka
called-
Vimanam.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pushpaka Vimanam.
Yeah.
We didn't get to speak for that.
Right. So I'm going to ask you the same question three different ways, okay? First of all, congratulations on the success of
Thank
Baby
you so
and for the film, which I liked quite a lot. What is this feeling that you have right now? Obviously, you're happy, but is there also like a feeling of relief?
Definitely.
Okay.
I think I'm quite a sober fellow in life. I don't know if you've met Vijay. I'm like a different version of him.
Okay.
Quite sober.
Are you trying
now.
to call Vijay sober?
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't think that?
He's very
when you met
zen in a way. Yeah.
Yeah,
In a
by
kind of
that.
a Osho way, I think. Yeah.
So I found it overwhelming initially. I didn't think that people would receive a film of mine in such a big way, in such a loving manner. And it happened without this kind of anticipation. I knew we had a good film in hands.
Right.
We had like wonderful music. The soul of the movie was all in the movie itself and not about the stars and everything. So I knew we had that good movie. I was just wondering, why will they watch me? Through the whole post-production, I was asking the director, are you sure this film is going to work? And he was like, trust me, it will. I know the mass audience pulse and everything. And just, we did this whole tour after like the success tour that we did through AP, from the north till the south. And the reactions have been incredible. They have owned the character so much that I feel that relief. Like, I came with a background, of course, and I had a trial by fire. People were constantly telling, you're here only because of your brother and all that. I knew I was here because of my brother, but I knew I also wanted to prove myself. And I think I did. So that's the big relief.
Right. Okay, so the brother thing is coming as the third version of the question. But the second version of the same question is, do you feel you've arrived like as a star?
As a star, I don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay,
I
so
don't see myself like that. I think if the audience sees it that way, then that's well and fine.
right.
Uh,
How do you see yourself?
Well, like a normal dude.
You're not a normal dude. Otherwise, you're not. Normal dudes don't give interviews. So, like, so
What
you
do you
know. So, what is? I mean, like, what I mean is, do you see yourself as just a performer who happens to have had a hit movie? Is that how you define yourself right now? Maybe.
No, I mean, I don't want to label myself a certain way. I just an actor who hopefully one day is big enough to call himself a star.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But this is a good first step. So.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's a great first
Great
step, in
first
fact.
step. Yeah. And finally, the Vijay question is like, is there a sense of also having like stepped out of Vijay's shadow? Not that, like you said, it was not ever in your mind, but the perception was that,
Definitely.
right? So, is there like, okay, finally I proved myself. It's not just people are knowing me as Vijay Deverakonda's brother, but now I'm my own entity. Has that feeling kind of sunk in?
Yeah, I mean, it happened, it unraveled very slowly. Like, it happened with Middle Class Melodies, a certain section was like, he's here to do good cinema. With Pushpak Vimanam, they were like, yeah, he's selecting, his story selection is really good. And with this film, the performance aspect of things also has really stood out, and they know why I'm here. So with my next film, I'm hoping that I only can capitalize on that and slowly step out of the shadows of my brother. It's also a big shadow. It's also a good shadow to be in because I can learn from that person a lot, right? So I don't necessarily see it as a negative thing.
Right. No, it isn't. I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying the way media likes to portray things because we keep talking about nepotism all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so and so is only there because her father's so rich, or so and so is only there because his dad is a producer or something like that. You know. So that's what I meant. It's like this is wonderful because it's your own movie. It has nothing to do with Vijay. And it's like, you know, it's a big hit. So that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, so I was actually waiting for the reaction from my brother, and he's not someone who shows too much like affection in terms of because we are more of friends than brothers, so we are not like hugging each other and saying my tammudu ra ikkatra atlantive em. I was waiting for his reaction and he watched the film with me on the premiere day. I was stressed. I was like, massive premieres are happening. What's the reaction going to be like? I was continuously stressed, and he just held my hand and said, "You see from tomorrow morning how this movie is going to just like pick up and be everywhere." And the few days later, after like Allu Arjun sir coming and appreciating, Shiru sir appreciating, he just held my hand again at home and he gave me a big hug this time and said, "You're doing really well. Just don't stop here. Just you have to pile on this and pick up more good films." And that was the first time he said, "The next time you listen to any stories, you also send me the synopsis. I want to take a look at it and make sure you're going the right way." This is the first time he's said that in these four years. So,
But I thought there was a time that you also said he told you some tips about how to select good stories or something like that.
No, never actually. He always told me, even during Middle Class Melodies, just have fun, man. Don't take it. I realized through my first two films, I was not walking confidently into the set, right?
Okay.
Uh, Maybe I had this sort of like baggage, or do you think these guys actually like me as their lead actor, sort of thing? I had that sort of thoughts going on in my head, at the back of my head. Although eventually at the end of the day, I would try and play the character as the director wanted, but I had these thoughts playing in my head, and maybe that was the aspect of things that was pulling me back a little. Like, so Vijay recognized that and he was like, "Just have fun, man. Whatever you're doing, just have fun." And I think that's the point of it. Like, just have fun with whatever you're doing.
Anand, the second time you're saying that, because you just said that the first time you saw while the editing was happening, you looked at the director and said, "Why will they watch me?" Now again, you're saying that, when you walked into a set, you kind of felt underconfident.
In my first film.
Right, but do you have a bit of a confidence issue?
No, I actually have become super confident actually.
Okay.
Yeah, in many ways. But then I never expected to be here.
Right.
I never thought I would be an actor.
So why do you say you had your doubts about whether people will come to see you?
Because I'm telling you, I had this trial by fire. No, like people, as soon as I never knew, I stayed really far away from the industry, even though my brother was in it. I would watch films, enjoy them. But then I never knew the whole culture of people reacting and social media and all of those things, because I was never on it. And as soon as I put my first poster out, I saw this huge negative, like, reactions, and I was like, "What the hell? What is this? I didn't anticipate this." So they don't want me here. So all of these questions, you start thinking, right?
Yeah.
And then that was pulling me back a little, and then 2 months later, I was like, "Fuck it, this is not real." All these things happen to everybody. Even the biggest actors face this. It's not pointed at you. You just do what you believe in, more like of a self-belief thing rather than like what people think of you.
Right. So at this point, are you, like, you have had now you have a great platform, right?
Yeah.
There's two things you can do. One is you can continue the path of what Anand Deverakonda has done so far, which is to kind of look out for good stories with good boys, like very nice.
The sacrifice guy.
Like nice boys and all that. Or you can kind of, try and see if there are movies that are going to make you a star. Not that you are not already a star, but what I mean by that is, like, there's a certain, with a little elevation, with a little more mass content, not very much, but like a little different from what you've done.
Yeah, I understand.
So is there some thought that you've given to this? Because you can continue what you're doing, or now that you have this, you can go this way as well.
I truly think that you can't plan and make yourself a star. Although you can make decisions.
Sure, I'm only talking about the decisions. Yeah.
So I see myself as the guy who's still representing the boy next door, right?
Okay.
Although in the boy next door films, you can have your moments where you project yourself in a way that masses like you so much.
Yeah.
Or you can do the dance and song thing still. So, for example, like films like Tiruchitrambalam or VIP and all of the Dhanush films I'm just calling out. But I love Thiru so much, and I saw it as a star vehicle film also.
Right.
in
It's a
many
lovely
ways.
film, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So even though there are not big moments where he's just the shot of him after his fight with his father, there's this back shot, and I had goosebumps in that moment. So even if I'm doing films like that, even if it takes longer, I would rather prefer doing films like
Right.
such as those than the elevation, the foot, like stepping down from the car and putting your foot down. I don't think I'm fit for those.
Why? Like, I first see your shoe, and then I see your knee, and then I see your hand,
And then you see my face and
see
you're
your
like,
face.
no.
No, you don't want that.
No, I don't want that. I don't see
What if
myself
you
like
get to a place and they say, no, you do the shot because your fans want that?
I think I can control. It's really not about what the audience wants to see you as, more about what I want to see myself as, and then project that to the audience.
I think you're
right?
still talking like a corporate person.
Corporate person. Huh? I
Right.
was in it, so I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still truly believe that film making is going there, and there's lots of actors in Telugu who are already doing that. So why not try the different path?
Right.
Yeah. So like I said, I loved Hridayam. I loved Thiru from last year. I love Sitaraman. Not just the love stories. Jersey. Vijay's Arjun Reddy. If you call Vijay's Arjun Reddy a mass film, it's only mass. There are not real mass moments in that.
Right.
Yeah, it's the only mass movement probably in it is him riding the bike, and there's wada wada. What else is there? So, I think films like that can take you to
No,
the next
I
level. as
differ
well.
with you a little bit on that because I think Arjun Reddy is that person itself thinks of himself as a rock star.
Yeah,
Because he is, that's why he's so misguided in that movie because he's like, dude, I'm this star. So it's automatically a bit of a star vehicle, even though Vijay wasn't a star when it happened.
Yeah.
What I mean is that story is that of a person who's like, I can do anything. And then he's taught this big lesson by life. So I think that would be a little, yeah, but that's what I meant. It's like,
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing films like that.
like that, yeah.
More real, more grounded.
Grounded.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? You're like, you want to be
Right now, at least, maybe to
real,
change.
grounded. You don't want like your Gum Gum Ganesha is going to be like
Gum
that's
Gum
your next
Ganesh is
release.
going to be very funky though.
Okay.
Like it's this. It's the first time I play this hyper guy. You probably don't see me as a hyper kid.
Yeah,
but I play this ultra hyper, like this funky hairstyle, have a tattoo and everything. And
Okay,
it's a
that's
fun
something I
film.
want to see.
It's
So-
a fun film.
Right.
It's come
Like,
out really
did you
good.
find it difficult getting into that zone? Because I've never seen you in that zone before.
I had the hardest time doing that film.
Hardest.
Yeah, compared to the rest
all
of
the other films.
Yeah, so far, because I always had to, get this full energy boost through me and deliver my dialogues very differently. He's this person who character believes that he's probably the smartest, but he's doing dumb things all the time. So that film took a lot out of me, and I think the director is really, he knows his characters very well. So I enjoyed doing that film, and it shows the side of me that helps me realize my range, right?
Nice.
So I can figure that out for my later
Do you
films
want
as well.
like supposing you're saying how are you, how would the typical Anand Deverakonda character do it, and how would this person do it?
Right now.
Right now,
Are you
yeah.
auditioning me?
Yeah, and I just want to get a feel of what you're saying.
I think you'll see it in the teaser. I don't want to reveal it.
Okay.
But I think I'm this like extremely laid back guy in real life. That guy is more like on the front foot. He's always like giving this sudden reactions sort of thing. More like the Shiva Karthikeyan's sort of style in his earlier films.
Right.
So yeah.
Can you afford to be laid back in something like the film industry?
Yeah, definitely. Why not?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you always had to be on the go, monitoring what everybody's doing, looking at what's working, what's not working, what the audience is like.
You can be laid back and still do that, I think.
Yeah?
You don't have to constantly. I think if
How
you're.
do you define laid back?
I always believe the right things come to me. Like if I'm working hard enough and making good decisions, the right things will come to me. Like you just met Mithun Krishnan, right? He's the director I'm going to be working with next. I never seeked out a director from Chennai, but it just happened to
Right.
come to me, and that story is amazing.
Right. And this is the movie you're doing after Gum Gum Ganesha.
After Gum Gum Ganesha.
And just for clarity, this person I met is A.R. Murugatha's assistant.
Assistant, yes.
Yeah, right. Former assistant.
Yeah. Even for example, Baby, Sarah's film. I hadn't finished the Middle Class Melodies yet. We were still promoting it, and this film came to me already. I hadn't had a hit film. I was not known as a performer still, but Saira just somehow believed that I can pull off this role. He believed that this guy has something in him. I made the right decision because there were other actors not showing interest in him because he had made this parody films.
Right.
So my good decision with the hard work helped make Baby.
Right.
Right. So I think I can still be laid back. I'm not going seeking out, meeting different producers and saying, "Hey, I'm Vijay Deverakonda's brother. Please, set up this big director for
You don't
me."
have to say you're Vijay Deverakonda's brother.
I mean, initially
Baby's lead
right
actor.
now I can do
That's
that.
what you can do.
Right now I can do that, but
Yeah.
it also helps that in that film my character's name is also Anand.
Yeah.
So you don't have two different names and two different personalities or something. But in the future, of course, Baby is on my resume or whatever, and I can just go project that. Already lots of directors are coming to me and trying to pitch their stories. But initially I was very laid back. I was saying, let's see what happens.
Right. So one thing that as a leading man, or at least somebody who wants to be a leading man, when you see the script of something like Baby, right, you notice that the heroine character has huge amount of footage, right?
Yeah.
Like it's practically her movie, and of course you do get the latter half kind of
The last 40 minutes.
last 40 minutes is pretty much yours, but till there's a lot of it. Basically, her bad decisions are what the
Film.
movie is about. Like
Yeah.
her, not bad, but like as in
Naive.
ill-informed, naive
Yeah.
decisions or whatever. So see, even in Middle Class Melodies, even though there are other people, there's still you're the center of the film.
Yeah.
So when you're not the center of the film, does that, when you read it, what is your immediate reaction? Do you think, should I do this? Should I not do that? Or is
Actually, that thought never crossed my mind.
No?
I think it was more when I first heard it, I knew the theme, the plot of the story. I never knew like the screenplay, the dialogues, how these characters were going to be presented. All that came at a later stage when I already okayed the film.
right?
But the theme and the plot already sold it to me. I was like, especially the interval block was something. I mean, we've watched many films where there are either two heroines and one hero,
Right.
or
Yeah.
two heroes and one
Yeah,
girl.
yeah.
That's tried and tested, told all over the
Right,
world, sort
right.
of thing. But what I loved was the irony in these situations. This guy saying "I love you," sitting like a naive, innocent guy, and there the girl is taking a hard decision and kissing that dude. And the Premistuna song was something that blew me in the narration itself.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy is dropping her in an auto. That shocked me. That
Yeah.
shock value sold the film to me. And I knew that I was getting the front portion of the film, the last 40 minutes of the film. There was so much scope to show my range and everything. I was sold. I was never worried about, oh, is this person getting
Right.
more screen
Right.
space and everything.
You know, one scene that I think was really spectacular for you, and I was really blown away by that scene was when your friend delivers some bad news to you,
Yeah.
and you're kind of not exactly clutching your heart, but your hand goes inside your shirt near that region and says, I kind of am not sure what to feel.
Yeah.
And you don't oversell that moment. You just pretty much, you're very, very at an even level, you know.
Yeah.
Was that choice yours?
We had discussed it, of course.
Right.
Like
because
we
the
shot
same
it-
line can be shot many, many ways.
Yeah,
right?
you
So-
can like the first shot. I'm sure like I oversold it. I was
Right.
like doing this huge panic attack sort of thing.
Right.
We shot it very recently, like 2 months before, like during the post
It
production.
was one of the last
Yeah,
scenes we
in
shot.
the last schedule we were shooting it, and by this time I knew where the character was
Right.
at the end of the film, so I knew the meter of how to play it here. But then in the discussion, we were very clear that Sarah just wanted like 3 different stages.
Okay.
He was saying, I want these variations within this scene. And it so happened that I had also written down on the scene paper saying, what are the stages of grief? Like, you get shocked first, you're in disbelief, and then you go through all the different stages of grieving process. So I was like, how can I project this in a span of like 45 seconds or whatever? And I wanted to do it at least once, do the whole stretch at once, just to know how it feels.
Right.
Not break, not go to Harsha, hold him, and then cut, and then do the whole stretch, right? I wanted to do the whole thing till he falls down and picks up the knife and says, I'm going to kill her.
Right.
because in that one shot I can figure out like how that whole process is feeling. In fact, in one of the shots, just to give you like some background, I step back from him, from Harsha, and say, "Arey, chepra, adi nijam kadan chepra. Tell me it's not the truth." And then I go back to him, I hold him very tightly and say, "Cheppura," because he's not saying anything. Maatladra, speak. And then I push him out of anger. And then Sarah just immediately said, "Cut." I was like, "Why?" It was coming out so well. And then he said, "Your character never reacts like this in the second half. You don't do it out of anger. You're lost at this point. You're completely broken down. Just leave him slowly."
Right.
So I knew, okay, the meter had to be very like settled.
Right.
You can't oversell things here. And then, of course, the whole pattern of anxiety, panic attack, the breath. That was one of the scenes that people are actually. I think Chiru sir also said it. Like, you weren't acting; you were actually like believing that that happened to you.
Right.
So that was something from such a big actor. It was wonderful to
No,
hear.
yeah, and it was beautiful because, you know, obviously there are big scenes in the movie, like of the bridge scene at the end and all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there are big scenes, yeah. But at that very crucial moment when you realize that this is what has happened to you and to your love, that's typically, you know, a lot of people, a lot of directors too would want to really sell this to the audience, like push it to the audience, you know, and that's the time when you kind of really take it very
Yeah.
like a very natural way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought that was brilliant. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
really
that's something Sarah just wanted from that movie. Actually, the movie changes tracks from there.
Right.
It becomes my movie from there. More about that character, how he's reacting to every situation.
yeah,
It becomes
yeah.
about that, right? So you had to have that scene. You need it in the right meter. Otherwise, the whole film has a domino effect of, okay, that scene was so high. Why is everything failing after
Right.
this? And we had shot immediately the next scene where I go to her bedroom.
The bedroom, yeah.
Where she's like drunk and completely sloshed and sleeping. We had shot that much before. And I was like, that scene is already so intense, Anna. How are we going to shoot this? You need something more real, something more thing. And he said, let me brainstorm on how it's going to work. Because I knew that as a scene that was working immensely well.
Right.
Because I had watched it a couple of times and I was crying. Just how the character was saying, how can you forget me? I'm there outside for you. How can you go sleep with this guy? And it worked out eventually.
Yeah. From your first film, what has your like approach to acting been? See, now you're saying that, you know, it's like this is what I did instinctively, and then Saira just said cut, and then he said, okay,
Yeah.
no, I'm looking at it a little differently. Do you always say, let me do my first shot the way I see it?
Now I do it.
Okay.
Before I used to rely on my director. Okay, what do you want me to do? Let me know the different beats of the scene and
Right,
everything.
right,
I was
right.
more reliant in my first film on the director.
So
Now-
you literally say, okay, these are the lines. How do you want me to play it?
Yeah,
Okay.
do you want more stresses on these? Do you want me to do something like big for certain
Right.
words and certain dialogues? I was more reliant. My first film, I didn't have much dialogue. In fact,
Yeah.
the only lines I remember are "Na peru Raju." That's all. And it was more of a very poetic sort of film.
Yeah.
But this film, I think I would discuss the beats of the scene, of course, with the director. But then I would say, Anna, just give me that space. He would actually give us the space to just perform it on the go. And then he would come and tell his corrections. I feel like now I walk more confidently into the sets.
Right.
Coming back to the previous point, I just walk back more confidently onto the set saying, everyone on this sets are here to make me work better, look better, and do better.
Right.
So I don't care about what they think or what the audiences think. I need to do what I need to do today. So sitting down with the director is more like enjoyable now
Right.
than it was before. Before it was about stress. Oh shit, how am I going to do today? What is the end result? Are they going to be happy with the scene? Today, I know they're going to be happy with the scene. I just need to make sure how to get there.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it.
So it's more about your internal process than external validation.
Yeah, I don't care about external validation anymore. Sometimes I actually am not someone. This is probably is a bad habit. I don't look at the monitor too much.
I was going to ask you. I just going to ask you that. Like, yeah.
I don't look at the monitor too much.
You've
which-
never done that from the beginning,
from the beginning.
right?
Occasionally I do. I just quickly go, okay. sort of thing. But I'm always looking immediately over my shoulder at the director's face. I immediately know his reaction. Okay, it's good. It's not good.
Okay.
If his reaction is a bit like off or shady, I'll be like, okay, I'm immediately doing one more. I know what's needed, sort of thing. I don't look at the monitor too much.
Yeah, because some actors, they think that if they look at the monitor, they can spot what's wrong and correct it. But there are other actors who say, I don't want to look at the monitor because that will make me very conscious of what I'm doing and I want to be free.
Yeah.
And let the director take the decision of what's coming or not coming. So
For like song montages and all, I think it's necessary to look at the monitor, irrespective of what your opinion is. Just go, because song montages are mostly beauty shots.
Right.
Irrespective of how you look, you're
Yeah.
walking, you're smiling. You just need to make sure that it's completely presentable. For example, the foot-over bridge scene where I'm extremely crying and the girl is crying and everything, I didn't want to look at the monitor at all because I knew I was in a zone.
Because that's a dramatic moment.
Yeah, and it's also a long scene. I had to
Yeah.
hold it for like, actually, the scene that we did in one night came about like 15 minutes, 16 minutes scene. We cut it down to 8 or 9 minutes in the film.
Right.
I knew that if I had to hold it for so long, I had to hold that emotion for the whole night, I shouldn't look at the monitor. I recognized that because I knew I needed to trust my director. I also knew that if I went to the monitor and checked how I was crying, I would be more conscious about how I was crying. Like my expression during
your
crying.
eyes are screwed up. And
Or my hair while I was crying. It doesn't have to look good there. You just leave it to the director to say, hey, this is working, this is my climax. It's going to work.
Right.
And yeah, that's something I left to the director.
Right. But earlier, would you say, even though I'm crying, I still want to look good on camera or something like that?
No.
You were never. That's so. The performance is what matters.
Yeah, it's more, I think, crying, okay, for men especially, it's okay, however you cry, it's accepted. Maybe for women, I'm not sure, like, they still expect you to look a certain, if the heroine is crying. I think we broke that with this film as well.
Right.
Vaishnavi crying on the foot-over bridge, she's literally hitting herself and all of those things. I think laughing is the harder thing. You have to laugh in a way to be like presentable. It's quite tricky.
Yeah.
Because everyone has a unique laugh, and then suddenly and every director expects this different kind of laugh. I'm like,
no, I'm really looking forward to Gum Gum Ganesha just to see how you present this character.
yeah, it's going to be very different. Right from the teaser, it's going to be very different.
Right. Now, Baby is also the first time, at least in my opinion, you got a very good co-star. Like in terms of somebody that measured up. Not only was the role like almost like an equal role, but also I think her performance was something that was like really good. Does having a good co-star help make your own performance better?
Definitely. I mean, I've had good co-stars before, definitely.
So that's why I said in my opinion, so that I don't have to put you on the spot. So
no, not being on the spot. Like I think in Middle Class Melodies, Varsha Bolamma killed it with her whatever little portion
but that
she
was
had.
a smaller
role.
yeah.
She's a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
After that, this is the more successful thing. And yeah, I completely agree with that statement that having a good co-star, especially for a love story. If it's a thriller, you can do your own thing or whatever. But with a love story, developing that chemistry, I think the little moments work so much for this film.
Right.
Just sitting, in, even the montages of just doing this and just doing that, like her reactions, we sitting in the auto and that whole forehead to forehead movement saying, I want to kiss you, and she reacting. Actually, we were doing it very naturally in the sense that we broke out into a laughter because we felt like that movement was very, we were very close. And then she was like, I'll hit you with my chappal sort of thing. And we broke out into a laughter, and that's the scene that eventually was there in the film. And that kind of chemistry can only happen with someone who believes those lines.
Okay.
Who's not just miming something that a co-director or some assistant director is saying it from behind the monitor. And I truly believe like knowing the language helps helps a lot. And she had so much to speak in this film. With your previous question, you were always asking me about how were you worried about that screen space going more to the heroine. I was more worried about who is going to play that.
Right.
Because I recognized that it was so crucial. She had the more tricky things to do throughout the film. was constantly telling Sarah, just, Anna, evaru chestaru. You can't have someone already who has some baggage, already who has some kind of image,
Right.
because then you have to break that image and then go
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the film.
yeah.
This girl was completely, she's already a popular girl, and she just killed it.
She just killed it, yeah.
She helped me also so much because I can't act directly to the camera. That's something like I can't look at the camera, look at the right edge of the camera and tell all my lines. I will always tell my director, please don't make me do that because it'll come out so artificially.
Not even if I stick a piece of tape there and say, look at the tape and
If
think
it's
that-
only reactions, it's fine.
but imagine that's the heroine.
I can do it now,
Yeah.
but for the film, I don't think it'll work because you can give reactions or whatever. But I would always say, can you at least make her stand there? I want to look at her and say my lines to her. It helps me perform easier. I don't have to think about.
Yeah.
I
Imagine, yeah.
I don't have to imagine that extra layer in my head thinking this girl is going to react this way and so
Right,
on. I
right,
can see her there, right?
Right.
So, and she was always game for that. She was, and whenever she needed me to do that, I would do that. I think it's our job. At some point, we should do that. Not all actors do that on our sets.
Yeah. I think Fahad did that for Bangalore Days, and somebody mentioned that and how that really helped the performance. You know, that's like something that thing. I forget who it was, but I remember hearing that. So,
I don't know. I think with this film, having these guys like Viraj, Vaishnavi helped so much. Even like my friends like Satvik, Harsha, my mom's character, she killed it. Even though she had very few scenes.
Right.
She did amazing work. And just having all these co-stars who speak the language
helps
so much.
You know, one thing is you come across as somebody who, and I may be completely wrong about this, so just correct me. You come across as somebody who's a fairly even person. But the thing is, in the movies, you've got to exaggerate things a little bit or a lot, depending on the sensibility of the director.
Yeah.
How do you push yourself to that zone?
You just have to do it.
That's
I
it.
don't know.
Just like even though you don't believe it, or even though you say this is not what I would do in real life.
I had those things with, like in my next film, I had lots of conversations. I don't think this character would react like that. Are you sure? And of course, the director knows the character better than me at that point. And he would say, no, this is how you should. There's this whole breakup angle in that film as well. And I was like, why is he crying so much? This guy is so jolly, like he's so happy. I don't think he should just say things but not cry. And then he was like, no, you have to cry and everything. So we had those discussions and eventually you just have to do it. And in that, crying is not like the baby crying, right? Now, the baby is more real. That is more a different genre. You have to also make people laugh at the same time.
Right.
People are not crying along with you. They're laughing at you. So that's a tricky space to be. And I just realized whatever it is, hook or crook, whatever the method is, you just have to do it.
Right. How do you push yourself though? Like, I know you said you have to do it, but do you have like a...
I mean, many ways, like finding references, looking at, trying to figure out with the director how it's going to work. Sometimes it might take 10 shots, 15 shots, but you figure it out at the end. But I don't know, it just helps to, I try and watch similar kind of films around, if I'm doing, say, a crime comedy, and try and watch similar kind of zones and see the meter that different actors are performing in. So you try and do that. Also, it helps to just be on set with these kind of actors and break out into that zone.
Right.
I don't know how my future films will be. I don't know what process or
I think the next time I interview you, you're going to be a star. I don't know why. I just get this feeling.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think my manager will be very happy. My future director will be very happy.
They're all sitting here. We're being observed by all these people for those who are not watching this interview live. So it's this kind of thing. During Dorasani, you gave an interview, and I want to tell you what you said. You said acting is a tough career. And I had many doubts about whether I'll be able to get into other fields, or if I don't succeed, and how it would affect my mind if something goes wrong.
Okay.
Have those thoughts gone away now?
I agree with acting is a tough job. Not in the sense you can get the part, but making a career out of it is incredibly hard. I'm sure you know it better than anybody because you've seen many actors come and go, and very few stick around for a long time. To be a lead actor and to be known for like 20, 25 years or whatever is very hard. The politics of the field itself is quite hard. Just being on sets sometimes, I know like it feels like the vanity of it, and these guys have good clothes. All of that can seem very easy, which I think we are very privileged to have and everything. But I think making successful films is so freaking hard. Like, it's a battle that you have to fight day in and day out. Before Baby, also, I was struggling with these thoughts. I happened to tell my co-star, if this film doesn't work, I think I'm going to quit.
Seriously?
Those are thoughts I was having. I don't know if I was serious or not. I was quite stressed because I said I gave this film my all.
But you just said you're so laid back and cool and all that.
As in, I wouldn't go sit with my brother and say, hey, please help me out, please make this film a hit, sort of thing. It's still my thoughts. I was still joking about it with my co-star.
But they were there.
They were definitely there. I think Maruti, sir, director Maruti, recognized it. It was like, what's going on with you, man? Like, you have an amazing film on your hands. See, on July 14th, your careers, your names are going to change, sort of thing. And he was the first person to say it, at least 2 weeks in advance. And until then, I was like, okay, we have a good film, but I don't know how they're going to receive it, sort of thing. So I was quite stressed with that. And I was telling my co-star, hey, if this film also doesn't work, no, I think I'll just, I think I'll take it slow. I'll see where it goes, sort of thing. Because I know that 2 years of my life, I gave this film everything. The time, there were challenging things, the 6-minute single take, performance that the director wanted. The director knew the mass audience pulse. Like,
Right.
he knew what people in Nellore would watch. And he was like, I'm going to make sure they watch it as well. I'm not going to get another director like that, maybe. If he knows everything, if he got everything out of me, and if it's still not working, I'm not sure I'm meant to be here, sort of thing.
Right.
So those were the thoughts that were going on in my head. But those were also thoughts coming out of comfort because I knew I had a good film. So
Yeah.
it's quite a hard career.
Yeah, actually, because if at all the film had worked, the fact that what you thought was a good film did not work is more painful than if you know that you have a bad film and okay, anyway, I didn't think it would work, so that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But how do you handle negative spaces? Because not just your profession, but everybody has them, right? But in your profession, more than even the
Our profession now.
Okay, I'm a bit actor. You're like
Yeah,
you
sorry.
know, for example, whenever people keep comparing you with Vijay or whatever it is, it's
Yeah.
like there are times I'm sure that you get into dark zones that you have to snap out of. How do you handle those times? This thing about
Trolling or whatever.
whatever you just said. Or,
Yeah,
all
I
those
think-
things. How do you?
Initially, I found it quite hard. Like, during my first film, I didn't know this existed in this manner. I thought we make films, people either like them or dislike them. That was my simple algorithm to life, I thought,
Okay.
the film career. But there's so much more happening in between. And with every poster, a kind of reaction, with every song, a kind of reaction, with every interview, a kind of reaction, that at some point during this whole process, like, it's a good thing that I had that in the beginning of my career because I know how to handle the rest of it, right? I just realized that, I mean, this might sound like a cliche, but if you don't give your body to everybody, you don't let everybody come and hug you and touch you and everything, why give a piece of mind, your mind, to everybody, right?
Actually, it's not a cliche. I've never heard this at all.
Yeah, so I realized that even if people are saying random shit all the time, it's not worthy of your mind and that little space that you cater to these opinions and everything. You do your work, some things work, some things don't work. At the end of the day, I just want to make sure I sleep in bed happily, peacefully, have a good night's sleep is my funda in life. Whatever happens, I'm sure, like, during a bad film, it's almost like mourning a loss. Like,
You put in so much and
yeah, like, even if you know the film is going to fail, it still feels like the atmosphere at home is very gloomy and you're like, fuck, this is the end of life, sort of thing. 1 week later, it's okay, it's back to normal. So you recognize that, and I've already faced that with my first film. I've done a film that I didn't want to do at all, I filmed it and I didn't want to promote it at all. So I've gone through that journey as well. So I know that in the future, whatever happens, I can try and figure out like my zone. I can figure out like at the end of the day, I can go to bed peacefully.
Right.
I know like what pisses me off more is like people targeting my brother. I feel like they have the same blood. I want to defend him with my life, sort of thing.
For his films.
For his films, for anything that he says and is put out of context, I feel like I want to be the first person to defend him because I'm his biggest fan, sort of thing. And we also grew up as friends, and there are these certain controversies that certain actors itself have pointed fingers at him, and I'm like, you're putting things out of context, man. Some things I feel like you have to cut off right when it's starting. Yesterday, someone just commented about the production design aspect of things on your review of Baby.
Of my review of Baby. Okay, yeah.
And it's still a comment, right?
Right.
And he might be doing it for clicks, but then at least 10 of the 100 people commenting below will think that that's true. The director didn't know shit what he was making. I think someone has to address it right there and then so that everyone knows that no, it's not real. People do think about these things when making a film.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you did because, at the risk of taking this away from the interview and making it more about my review, when you point things out in a review, whether it's a performance or something like that, one, you're not thinking whether the director thought of it. You're saying what your heart and mind felt while you saw that color or performance or whatever it is. And second thing is, there is a science to making a movie, a technical science to making a movie apart from the thing. And when an actor defends that, I think it helps to legitimize, I think, an art which is devalued a lot in our society because they just think, oh, it's just a movie. Nobody thinks this much. They just put it together.
Some people almost say it like you put a camera and everything that happens in front of the camera is by luck.
Yeah.
But almost everything. I mean, some things happen by luck. Some shots do happen by luck. So much of it is designed.
And like all of it is thought through to such a detail. Otherwise, you don't need a costume designer. You don't need a production designer and all that. Everybody assumes everything about films and making and things like that. And when those comments are not countered by the people making the film, I feel you need to do that. I feel like people within the film need to say that yes, we put in all this hard work into this movie. Whether you like it or not, that's a different matter. But yes, we did do all this for this movie. I think that's important, and thank you for doing that. So, yeah. Your father has directed a lot of TV serials, and he's been around, and TV shows, and he's been around the industry a lot. What's the best advice he's given you?
He's given a lot of advice. He gives a lot of advice to both me and my brother. And when my brother initially wanted to get into the films, he was not doing it seriously. He was doing it because he knew he didn't want to study. A lot of time went in giving.
So Everday and all was more like a lark, is it?
No, before, much before. Like before. Novella, Life is Beautiful days. He was just doing it because there was some direction to life, sort of thing. And then he recognized his own talent and became serious about it. My story is completely different. I was doing some other job. People were asking because there was a lack of young heroes or whatever. They're like, Vijay has a younger brother. Why can't he come into the films? And then my father, in fact, was like, you should try it. You have done some theater before. You should give this a shot. And I was like, are you sure, Dad? And then he constantly said, no, you have some kind of thing in you that can be presented. You also can dance really well. There's some grace to you. He was always pushing the positive sides of me really well and giving me that confidence. But I think through filmmaking, he recognized that I'm really interested in acting and not, the whole extra thing that comes with acting. He always pushes me to, do lots of hard work. Like, he's someone, my father, I think, like our nature, like Vijay's and my nature comes a lot from our father. The whole like practical side of things comes from him, and he's always pushing us to do our best. He wanted to be an actor. Actually.
Yeah.
He wanted to be an actor, he didn't make it because he had a young family and everything. He needed means to support them. And then he shifted into direction because he thought that would pay him some money, and that never properly did. Like, I think, for example, if I was doing this Premastuna song, if I was singing it, in my first film, I would have sang it very differently. I would have sang it like making sure like I'm lipping it better, mouthing it better, uh, not focusing on the emotion itself. Whereas now he pushed me. He said, "You see how Ranbir Kapoor sings in Kun Faya Kun, or see how he mouths it even when he's dancing. See how this particular actors are doing this particular scene and feeling it rather than saying it." So these are the things that my father always used to tell me very casually, not like a class sort of thing. And that helped me when I was shooting this video song for Premastuna. The first shot itself, the director came and said, "I don't have to direct you anymore. You're owning this properly."
Right.
Because that was something I remembered my father had told me. If you're singing something, sing it from here. Feel it like you're singing it to the girl.
Right.
And now it's probably one of the most shared reels from our film. Me singing it to the girl, whole bit of Premastuna. That's something like he is always encouraging and pushing us. His whole life right now is just about mine and I mean, like every father's maybe, my brothers and my well-being.
It's a little more because in a way he's probably reliving his dream through yours.
He is. I have this little incident. I hadn't become an actor yet. We were watching some interview or some pre-release event of Vijay's, and we hadn't gone to the pre-release event physically. We were watching it on TV. I was enjoying it like a younger brother just sitting, my brother's on stage. I will enjoy this sort of thing. And then I just looked, and my father never shows emotions. He was very like silently crying because he was feeling extremely proud about both my parents actually, about like Chiru sir appreciating my brother so much, or Dil Raju saying he's the next big thing in the industry. And my father, who always wanted to be this, wanted to be an actor at least, seeing his son doing that, and now seeing his younger son also doing that, I'm sure like
Lovely.
he'd be super proud. Actually, lots of directors who know my like young directors or people who look for him for advice and everything, they kept calling me and they are saying things like, "Your father must be so happy now. I think he doesn't have to worry about anything in life. This is post baby." Even Sairaj is very. He always used to tell me, if I have to show this film to anybody before the release, it'll be your dad. I won't show it to anybody because he gave me, he trusted me and gave you. So I think he's super proud. Yeah.
Lovely. You know, when you have nothing to lose, you can pretty much do whatever. But now you've given this. Is there a bit of fear now? Oh my God! Now I have to make sure that this platform I've been given, this baby that I've given, is, you know, I maintain this. Is that a thought that's kind of
Definitely. I think I don't want to be known as this one-hit wonder. It happened because of so and so
Whatever,
reasons.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't want to see myself like that. I want to capitalize on it, of course. I want to grow in this field, and I want to focus more on doing that character, that story that I loved. And it's hard. Actually, the hardest part of this game is once you have a success is to build on it, right? And it actually feels like a game because it's almost like you're on the PlayStation and you have to pick different characters, who's going to do the right thing versus who's going to do the wrong thing, and everyone is trying to second guess your choices. Like people around you, if it's my family, if it's my other directors, are you sure you want to do that film sort of thing? And they're putting thoughts into your head. I think at some point you just have to, I don't know if it's going to work, if it's not going to work. I am telling myself right now that when you heard the story, your instincts told you the narration, or when you read the script, the instincts told you something about the script, right? Just believe in that and put in your best efforts. Don't be too result oriented, I guess. Like, I think it's as much as being on sets and enjoying those days, and forget the result aspect of things. I'm sure like the result aspect of things comes in the business end. Like as soon as you start selling it for trade and everything, you're like, oh shit, now what's going to happen? Is it going to open well? Are we selling it for the right price, sort of thing? All those discussions do happen, but leave it for the latter part.
While doing the film,
Just believe the director and just do the film, because I think most good films happen with a well-rounded team. Like if only an actor is good, it's not worth it. I mean, it has to happen from the director, and if you focus your efforts on finding the right director with the right motivation, I think at least 50% of the job is done there. And then I think the rest of the battle is there.
Right.
But it's still hard. I think one of my films, I enjoyed the story so much. Like the previous films, I can't name it because they'll feel bad maybe. I enjoyed doing it so much. I enjoyed working with the director so much, but we failed in the execution part of it. We wanted to make it like an Andhadhun, but we lagged behind a little, and it didn't work. And you can only see it retrospectively.
Yeah, you can't, while
doing it, we are still thinking, this will become an Andhadhun sort of thing. And then when you watch the whole thing, you're like, shit, we missed out. It is a missed opportunity sort of thing. Those things will happen in the future also. But I think if the director is strong and sorted, I think half your game is there.
But there's also like one thing that I've noticed in southern language productions, which happens less in Bollywood. Here, a lot of people listen more to narrations than reading the script.
Right.
And I've always wondered, because I have been in narrations while I was working part-time for this company, where people will come and say, sir, this will happen, and wow, this big explosion will happen, and then wow, this part, this complete, it go crazy and all that. Then we watch the movie, it'll be like, really? Like, what am I watching? There's nothing there. So the translation, because while giving a narration, they're putting all their energy, and some people even play background music and things like that. And I've actually seen this kind of narration, happens. Right? But then it's a little bit of, how do you make sure that, I mean, I know there's no way to make sure, but at least how do you convince yourself that, okay, this person has given me a good narration, but he's also going to make a good screenplay and a good movie? Like, how do you process that?
It's really hard. There's no...
You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, I've gone through that as well. I've asked some directors post narration for scripts, and I've got the reaction like, why do you need a script? I gave a 3-hour narration sort of thing. I'm like, I just want to make sure you're saying and writing the same thing, right? But you get some negative reactions to this day.
Like, really? They don't want to share the script?
Some people don't. Like, you get that reaction, and eventually they do send the script. That's a different story. But a lot of the younger crop of directors are actually asking you, do you want to read the script, or do you want a narration? I think that thing is changing.
Nice.
But still, even after reading a script, you don't know like the execution part of it. Like, you're not sure. You're trying to ask them as many questions as who's the technical team going to be? Like, how are you seeing this film? What's a good reference point for this particular scene that you're talking about? Like, I want to see it, not just my acting, like how are you going to present it? How are you going to build this whole world, in fact? Like, and that was something that I battled for Baby as well, because they gave me a narration. I liked these two, the theme of the story. I asked for a script, and Rajesh Anna is someone who likes writing till we're shooting as well. Because he's always like making sure, he's written the whole thing down, like he has a whole story down. But he's always making sure, like, based on the actors and everything, he's making it as
improvising
as best as possible, right? So he's not willing to share it upfront. So I struggled with Anna, like, what's the film? Like, what are we going to make? Like, what's the meter that we are going to set? Is it going to be like 7/G, or is it going to be more like, I think Karti's first film, which was more like raw and hard hitting? What is the meter of this film? And we were shooting the climax of the film first. So I was like, are you sure you want to shoot the climax first? Because I had grown my hair and beard at this point. I was like, Anna, I don't even know like how I'll sit across Vaishnavi and talk to her. How am I going to look at her and feel like I've lost this girl? She has lost me also. And he is someone who's very sorted in his head. He's very unassuming actually, Rajesh. I think I deflected from your original question, but just to give you an example.
Well,
he gave me a real story from his life. He saw his grandfather love someone, one of his grandfathers, I don't know exactly who, and that person ended up, he was so broken, he went, at some point he deflected, like in his mind he went away. He told me the certain image of that particular person sitting in the village. We call them moris in like the drainage, the little drainage systems. His legs in the drainage with his beard, hair all like grown like that. And that was the image that I had when I was shooting for the climax. So this person is there.
Right.
When he's driving the auto, he's so broken, he's so lost, he's not moving on.
Right.
That person didn't move on as well, right? So that image and that kind of story helped me set the meter for performing the whole climax, me and Vaishnavi as well. And what helped me with Rajesh was he was sending me these music tracks to listen to as a sort of like for the whole climax portion. He was like, listen to Premistuna. This is the meter, this is the kind of background score. He was sending me olden, I think Balchandar sir references of little clips and saying, this is the kind of mood I'm going to set. So I think when you ask 100 questions, if you get answers for at least 50 of them, you find a film in there, somewhere in there.
That's a great approach, because like if you ask 100 questions, at least you're 50% there.
Yeah, because I think even the directors are figuring it out on the go. They can't answer everything.
Yeah.
Because I might be acting very differently to what he would have expected, right? So his meter of the film is slightly changing. So I think somewhere in there is a film, and hopefully it's a good film.
Actually, you explained it beautiful, because it's not because there's no perfect process, right? Because otherwise everybody would be making hit films and great films.
Yeah.
But it very rarely happens. So you know, that's a very nice way you explain the whole thing. So all your films have been directed by either newcomers or relatively lower profile directors. Are you now getting the cream of the Telugu film industry coming to your doorstep and saying, Anand Deverakonda, please do my movie? Is that happening?
Nothing like that. I'm still working with newcomers in like Ganga Manesha, I've already finished shooting for. He's a newcomer, but they've all had some kind of experience in the films. And that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
To make sure that they're sorted. They're not like, they're not taking baby steps in coming into the industry.
Right.
Like Uday Shetty worked with, he's Ganga Manesha director. He worked with Vijayendra Prasad Garu in his team. Mithun Krishnan worked with Murugadas sir. So they have their things sorted out. They know how to handle a set, which is crucial.
Right.
Handling actors and everything. And in the future, I'm going to be working with more new coming directors. But I always try and figure out the motivation behind why they're making that film.
Right.
Yeah, like Vijayendra Prasad Garu writes such big, like these mythical, big cinema. But why are you making this crime comedy? Like, what happened somewhere in that process that you decided to make this film? Same with my film after that. Even with Sai Rajesh's Baby, I knew he had made these parody films. And initially when they reached out to me saying this film is coming to you, this narration might happen with you, I was like, am I going to be making a parody film? I don't see myself like that. I don't think I can present it very well. And during that process, Color Photo had released. And I knew that he was a serious filmmaker. Like, he made those parody films just for the industry to know him. That was his game, actually. He was like, okay, no one's sort of supporting me. I will produce this. I will make this parody films. And I will make an unknown guy a star. And he made that. He made 2 parody films. And then through that process, I figured out like his motivation to make this baby was, it impacted his life somewhere.
Right.
It's actually some part of it, he saw it in his life and it impacted him. Same with Color Photo, his own story sort of thing. So I knew that his motivations were right there. I don't know, the cream might come, might not come, but I think there are lots of good directors out there and why not work with them?
Yeah. And like, one last question. I'm just curious whether there's one small part of you somewhere that wishes, I wish I was still there in the US doing my corporate job. Is that there?
No, not right now.
Okay.
There were days when I was like, I sort of missed the convenience of that life. Uh,
9 to 5, whatever.
that part I hated. I loved the after 5 bit and the weekends. I loved like the whole.
Your
Yeah,
time was your own, that kind of thing?
yeah,
Okay.
that sort of thing, and jogging by the lake. Where do you get? I lived in Chicago, so I could just wake up in the morning, put my, that you miss, like just being free and trying to travel everywhere. You go to these national parks. You can still do that here,
Yeah.
but you don't do that as much here when you have family around and everything.
You have fans.
Huh?
You have fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I actually enjoyed.
You have to acknowledge this, okay? You can't keep being this. I'm not a
No, no,
star.
no.
I'm still a low profile guy. You know, you can't keep doing that forever. I mean, like,
At least
there's a
until-
reason we're doing this interview. You know.
At least until baby happened, I would always walk in KBR Park. It's this park that you can see from here. In fact, I would always take my dog walking, and there were some people reckon, "Hey, you're Deverakonda's brother," sort of thing. And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And some people would take photos. And now I'm not getting the courage to step out as much.
Right.
I think I will do it anyway in the future. Now, like it feels like I'm announcing it to the world. Please.
Yeah, you should just put it up on Insta. Today, I will at 8:10 a.m. I will be in this park with with my dog. So.
Yeah, but I enjoy like just taking my dog and going out on a walk, sort of thing.
I think it must be the most popular film dog in Insta.
In fact, last night we were talking about this. Vijay was telling me, even when he goes to Chennai, and people randomly ask him, "How is your dog?"
How's
They don't
Tom?
even ask him about me. They're like, "How is Tom?" Like, how is this guy doing, sort of thing. So he's like quite
Like,
popular.
I think he's the biggest star in the
He's
house.
also the best looking Deverakonda.
But thank you so much, Anand. I really it was lovely talking to you because there's so much that you spoke about life and acting and all that. So it's always a pleasure to do something that is not a movie centric, you know. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, not just because you gave a good review of Baby. I know, like Middle Class Maltese, you had pointed out the lacking thing in me also. So that's something that I loved. I actually sat with that director then, and we were discussing about, hey, so everyone is pointing this out. I was sitting down with him and saying, how can I improve? He was also like, you can do more. There's more range to you, sort of thing. So I always loved your reviews, and I'm glad this happened quite early in my career, this interview.
And I hope you have many more successes.
Hopefully.
So, all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
For online one-to-one music lessons with top musicians, visit bmusician.com.